Welcome to Mystery Date, where we dive into the weird, the wild, and the downright puzzling. While our podcast is primarily for entertainment with plenty of laughs along the way, we occasionally discuss serious and sensitive topics. Some content may not be suitable for all listeners, so discretion is advised.
Today, we dive into the legend of Bigfoot, a creature shrouded in mystery. Is it merely a legend, or does this elusive beast truly roam the mountains and forests of our planet? From ancient indigenous tales to modern sightings that continue to captivate millions, we'll explore the legend of Bigfoot, the origins, its impact on pop culture, and some of the most compelling encounters around the globe. So, let's put on our hiking boots and head out to the woods as we take a deep dive into the legend of Bigfoot.
I'm Christian.
I'm Kate. Welcome to Mystery Date.
It's date night, meaning we get to talk about all things mysterious and weird in our world.
This season is called Into the Woods, and it involves mysteries surrounding woods, forests, and jungles all around our world.
Tonight's mystery is Bigfoot. That's right, Bigfoot.
Get comfy, grab your favorite drink, and let's start the show.
Okay, to start the show, we're going to keep it simple. What do you know about Bigfoot?
All right, Bigfoot. My knowledge, it doesn't go too far. I know that Bigfoot is a mysterious, large, hairy, bear-ish, man-ish creature with big feet that roams forests and mountain-esque places. But that's about it.
I mean, that's a pretty fair coverage of what he is. But there's a fair bit more to it, especially when it comes to the lore and everything surrounding where Bigfoot and Sasquatch and all these other terms came from. I'm sure you've heard of Sasquatch.
Oh yeah, Sasquatch, the Yeti. I've heard different theories that they're all actually different terms for the same creature. I've heard the theory that they're all subspecies of the same creature, much like how there are different types of dogs. I've heard that they are related to each other, like from the same original genus type, but not necessarily the same species. So yeah, I mean, I know that there's these mystical beings out there that we're not sure if they're real or if they're just kind of urban legends. And apparently there's many.
There are many, and we'll dive into that. And that's a good segue into what we're going to talk about now, which is where did Bigfoot come from? Because before this, I, like you, knew the same amount of information. Bigfoot was a legendary, almost mythic cryptid that lives in the forest, found almost in every United States forest or North American forest that you can name. That was about it. I'd never really done much research or dove much into the topic of Bigfoot himself, where it originated or anything like that. So this will be fun, and we'll all learn a little bit today.
It is kind of funny that I feel like there's no one who hasn't heard of the term Bigfoot or Sasquatch, but I don't know anything about the lore or the origin story or anything like that. I mean, when we were kids, it was kind of just oh, there's Bigfoot out in the woods, be careful. There was no real story behind it ever. So that is kind of interesting that it's one of those urban legends that's just, there's a creature out there.
That's
the
it.
End.
Well, let's learn a little bit more. Like I said before, where did Bigfoot come from? Bigfoot is a figure shrouded in mystery and emerges as a legend woven into the fabric of countless countries across the globe. Its roots stretch deep into Native American lore, European folklore, and just a myriad of myths that echo throughout time. In the realm of Native American tales, one can encounter fascinating beings such as the Tisanokoa, which I hope I'm saying that right. I might be butchering that, but I believe the pronunciation is correct. This is a towering, hair-clad ogre from the Pacific Northwest, known for pilfering provisions from unsuspecting children. And this is kind of the origin, more or less, of Bigfoot. A lot of iterations of what you call Bigfoot or tales that you'll hear from now on kind of stretch from this original myth. From here, like I said, we have the Sasquatch. that name resonates with all of us. We all know the Sasquatch. We might not have heard of the Tisinacoa, but we've all heard of the Sasquatch. The Sasquatch is derived from the Salish word of Sasquitz, which depicted a hairy ape-like entity that is said to traverse nearly every forest in North America. Scholars suggest that the Sasquatch may have evolved from the tales of the Tisinacoa, as these stories traversed from one native settlement to the other, enriching this legend further and further as people began to talk, and the myth just grew.
I mean, yeah, oral storytelling was huge. It still is. It's been a generational and community thing as far as humans go back.
You could find that today in your small town.
Oh, yeah. I mean, even just gossip.
Yeah,
It's the same thing.
Yeah, it's the same exact thing.
Yeah, it's just oral storytelling and ways of entertainment or curiosity or trying to make sense of things. And it evolves from one person to the next, from one town to the next, from one generation to the next. Some tales just keep on getting told.
Yep.
So we end up with what we've got now.
Yeah, they evolve, and then there you have the Sasquatch. So that's pretty much how we arrived there. It was a Salish word, which Salish is pretty much a group of Native Americans. It's an overview of many different tribes and many different other groups.
Okay.
Beyond the Sasquatch and the Tisinacoa lies the Wendigo or the Wendigo. Have you ever heard of that?
I think I've heard the term Wendigo before, but I don't really have any other knowledge on that.
Some of my knowledge comes from World of Warcraft. I mean, in there, they're like Yeti-like creatures. So that's kind of what I always thought they were.
That might even be why I know the term, is just have been with you for so long that I've probably heard you talk about it from World of Warcraft.
Yeah, that could very well be the case. So you have the Wendigo, which is a name bestowed by the Algonquin people, which again, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. They were a people inhabiting the Great Lakes and St. Lawrence River regions. This creature diverges a little bit from the others in its essence, though. It's not quite the same from what I could find. There are conflicting reports of what a Wendigo truly is. While some describe the Wendigo as a being reminiscent of a Bigfoot or even a Yeti, like I said before, what I saw in World of Warcraft, many regard it as a spirit-like entity, often kind of likened to a werewolf. The Wendigo bears a lot of ties to ancient cannibalism practices and the psychological toll that it imposes on a human spirit. So I saw reports that were saying, okay, yes, it is more like a Yeti, but on the other hand, you have a lot of people saying that, no, this is like the spirit that basically possesses a human who partakes in cannibalism.
Wow, that's a really interesting type of cautionary tale, almost. That type of legend, where it's almost as if they're saying, like, you know, the more a human engages in something, in a dark act, something as brutal as cannibalism, the more it darkens your soul and you become less human and more creature, more monster. Your soul becomes warped and distorted and contaminated.
Yeah.
And then before long, you're no longer human. You are this dark entity almost. You've lost your soul and you are now a husk creature that goes around eating people. And you are seen as a form of Bigfoot in this way.
And I can see like how the two can kind of be merged into one.
Yeah.
But my personal opinion is that these are very separate. I think Wendigo kind of just got roped in with the Bigfoot term, and it is actually more or less kind of a Native American tale. Like I said, that's a cautionary tale.
It's
I don't
more...
think it has anything really to do with Bigfoot, actually.
Yeah, I think it's more of a human morals lesson type of thing, and it's more preaching to be a good person and to, you know, what humanity is. And if you lose your humanity through certain acts, you will be seen as a creature and not a person. And then, yeah, somebody probably just took that and blended it with the Bigfoot theory, because it's not a far stretch to connect them. But I agree with you. I think that was probably its own thing that was more of a spiritual and community-based lesson or teaching for that specific tribe or group that originated it.
Yeah. No, I definitely think the two just kind of at one point merged in, like we said, oral history, just word of mouth. So, though the connections between the Wendigo and Bigfoot may be tenuous, the discussions remain pertinent, as many invoke the Wendigo in their exploration of these legendary beings. Like I said before, many people still rope the Wendigo into this. I mean, like when I was doing my research, the Wendigo kept popping up in almost everything I looked up about the Bigfoot.
In a way, they are very similar because regardless of their origins, they're both essentially cautionary tales about a creature roaming the woods that may or may not eat children. At the end of the day, those are similar tales. The more you get into the details of the tales, the more they are different, where one started as a human cannibal and has kind of become this soulless husk as a warning, and one is a literal ape bear man creature that has just always been a creature of this planet. I do believe that they are still similar enough that it makes a lot of sense that they would be brought up in conversation together and in research together.
I mean, no, I can see that point of view. I mean, it's almost like two different viewpoints of the same creature. You have some people looking at it with a realistic viewpoint saying that's all it is. And then you have another culture looking at it and saying, no, this is more of a spiritual transition almost.
Yeah.
I like that. I do eventually want to dive deeper into Wendigos. I think that might be an episode in its own coming up. Maybe not this season, but in the future, because they're just so fascinating. I found so much information about them that you could write books about it.
There's a lot of Native American culture and spiritual lore and myths and legends and things like that out there. They're all really fascinating if you don't know that much about Native American culture, if you aren't that close with it. We don't really live anywhere near any reservations, so we have some old Native American sites and things in our local metro parks and national parks, but we don't have any like active tribes and reservations near us, so we don't really have much of a personal connection to that in our local community. But it's really fascinating to learn about. So I'm sure we could do an episode in the future that just deep dives into some of those mysteries surrounding those Native American creatures and stories, and not just the Wendigos. I mean, I know there's more tales like that among their culture.
Yeah,
that would
the
be
skinwalkers.
Really cool. Yeah, it'd be really cool to learn more about.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. So venturing beyond North America, we encounter a lot of myths surrounding Bigfoot or Sasquatch that just flourish in a lot of other regions. The most renowned of these is, of course, the Yeti, or the abominable snowman.
In the Himalayas!
It's all the way in the Himalayas. You've seen him in Monsters, Inc. An ancient figure from the Himalayan folklore, the Yeti is depicted in a myriad of different myths by the locals. Some regard the Yeti as a guardian spirit or a deity watching over the mountainous region, while others believe it's kind of a wild human, a case of someone going missing and then just adapting, or maybe an ancestor that has changed.
Almost like some sort of missing link creature, a human being raised by the wild. What would they turn out to be? Like a Tarzan type of situation?
Yeah. In Tibetan Buddhist lore, however, the Yeti transforms into a malevolent monster, a hunter that prowls the Himalayas with encounters deemed harbingers of doom, honestly. So you see this creature and a lot of them thought, okay, that's death.
That, I think, is the lore I'm more familiar with when it comes to the Yeti, is that it's more of a force to be reckoned with, a wild animal that you should beware of, and it's something that you cannot fight off or hide from or outrun if you encounter. If you see its footprints, if you see traces of it, you need to get out now.
Pretty much, yeah. That's exactly how the Tibetan Buddhists saw it.
Yeah. I know if you've been to Disney World in Orlando, Florida,
Heck yes.
at Animal Kingdom, they have the Expedition Everest ride. And while Fast Pass and No Lines are great things, I definitely recommend taking time to check out that line queue, because there is so much Yeti and Sasquatch lore, and it's like a museum in there, but it's just all dedicated to the Yeti and to the Himalayas and to those mountains and to these Bigfoot sightings and this evidence that's been gathered by hikers and these disasters that have come up for hikers and campers over the years that were then leads to, oh, it was the Yeti. It's a really cool line cue if you're interested in stuff like this. So definitely check that out if you're ever there.
I love it. I love Expedition Everest in general. That was my favorite ride.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the ride itself is also freaking awesome, but...
Yeah, when that ride first opened, I was obsessed. Like, I remember watching documentaries on the Travel Channel or whatever the hell it was and being like, Mom, we have to go there, because they just had this long special of when it was being built. It was like 8 episodes, and I was just fascinated by it. And I don't know why. It was just, I mean, at the time, I think it was the most expensive roller coaster made. And that's probably why I was so fascinated, because it's Disney Imagineering. They built fucking mountain.
Yeah, and there was a Yeti in there for a long time. I don't know if they put him back yet or not.
I don't know.
For a long time, they had an actual Yeti in that ride that would like swoop down and almost claw the train off the tracks. Like, it was awesome.
Yeah.
But they had to take it down to like renovate and like make sure it was going to stay safe and not fall or anything in the future. And they just never put it back up because it was like, well, this is kind of a liability, like whatever, logistics and safety and all that shit. So I don't know if it ever got put back up, but it was pretty dope. But yeah, that ride is pretty sick. I remember going to Disney with our band in high school, and we had free time that day in Animal Kingdom. We didn't have our parade or our little concert classes and stuff. We just were going wild in Animal Kingdom, all of us kids. And 90% of our band was just going on Everest over and over and over and over. Like, everyone was riding that thing 12 times in a row, talking about the Yeti for the whole way home.
Yeah, I know. I remember that. It was a great time, especially because they had the single riders line. Like, that was so great. You didn't need fast pass. They didn't charge for no lightning lane bullshit. It was great. Anyways, back to the story.
No more Disney crap.
No more Disney.
Back to the real Yeti. Let's go.
Next, we're going to move on from the Yeti and explore just other myths about this Bigfoot creature or man-beast type thing that these other cultures have talked about. So now we have the Almas or the Alma, a creature said to dwell in the Caucasus, Tian Shan, and Pamir Mountains of Central Asia and parts of Mongolia. Though information about the Alma is pretty scarce, it is described as a man-beast, resembling an ape in most depictions of it. In some regions, the Alma is feared and its name is avoided completely in conversation, with locals opting for the name Akai, which means uncle brother.
That is a weird one. Oh, that's just Uncle Brother, the man beast.
I mean, I guess it's good to know that maybe they frowned upon it and the name was meant to be like a derogatory thing. Like, this beast is an uncle brother. Like, this is the product.
Yeah, like, that's some fucked up shit.
So, Dark Odd traditions, a Mongolian subset, even revere the Almas as a solitary deity, known as Almas the Black God. And they associated him with highland prairies and just mountain forest areas. The Dark Odd people would offer him wild roots and animal meats and try to use him to seek protection in this mountainous region.
Offering sacrifices.
At least no human sacrifices.
Well, yeah.
Just wild roots, some
it's
animal meat.
Yes, here, we will offer part of our harvest and our best lamb. Please protect us.
That seems normal. I mean, we do that in taxes today.
Oh my god. Not comparing taxes to ancient animal sacrifices to dark gods.
Back to it. In the European sphere, there is also a different creature that is brought up a lot of these times, and this is the figure of the wild man or the woodwose. This cryptid manifests itself a lot through medieval art and literature and was used a lot of times as a motif in medieval coat of arms. From what I could find, it's basically the same thing as the Sasquatch or the Bigfoot, but it was more or less taken a lot more culturally and happened in the medieval times. So imagine all the pop culture we have on Bigfoot now, except this was the wild man for them back in the 1500s, the 1400s, and a little bit earlier. So, like I said, you could find him on shields, flags, banners. A lot of people used that motif to represent their clan or their group of people.
That's pretty sick.
Yeah, but more or less, it's the same thing as Sasquatch. There's really not too much of an origin. There's so much different accounts of where it comes from. You have Greek origins, you have Roman origins, which at that point it already becomes extremely muddled if the two are involved. Like, you can't really trace it back to where this came from.
But
More or less, it's the Sasquatch or Bigfoot theory.
that's pretty awesome. I want my mascot to be Wild Man.
I mean, again, it's the same with the Bigfoot shirts.
Yeah,
That's pretty much what we're doing today.
that's true. We got Bigfoot shirts.
We've been to Hocking Hills in Ohio. They have a lot of Bigfoot memorabilia.
It's a big Bigfoot hotspot.
Big Bigfoot hotspot.
Check it out. You just might find him.
With all that, we can pretty much deduce that, like I said, nearly every culture on Earth has a tale or a legend akin to the modern concept of Bigfoot or Sasquatch. While many of these theories may be rooted in simple myths or ancient fables crafted to just safeguard lands or keep children safe, or any of the classic cases for a lot of these tall tales, they do hint at just a very tantalizing possibility that Bigfoot may indeed roam these hidden corners in our world, which I do love.
Yeah. Because like we said at the beginning, and like you just said, a lot of these you could boil down to, well, humans are humans, community is community, regardless of the different cultures and beliefs at play. Every human in every community has always felt the need to protect themselves and protect young or their loved ones with things like cautionary tales. So you could just boil that all down to, well, everybody had the same idea for a cautionary tale regarding the outside woods.
Yeah.
Well, there's some sort of man beast out there. Just, don't get lost out there. But it also does kind of point to, well, maybe there's a species out there. And that's why everybody keeps talking about it, because it's out there.
I mean, at a certain point, a coincidence can't be a coincidence.
Right. And I'm just saying, you might think Bigfoot is, oh, well, that's a ridiculous sounding creature. That's too far-fetched. To me, birds are ridiculous and far-fetched, okay? They're freaking flying and have hollow bones.
That's a hot take.
Like, okay, we believe in birds, though. We're not questioning those.
Well,
I know, because you see them all the time.
no, I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't even want to argue with you, to be honest. I don't want to play devil's advocate because I want Bigfoot to be real. So, like, yeah, sure.
Okay, maybe birds aren't the best comparison, but like think about like deep sea creatures
No,
that most people have not seen or encountered unless they're reading some like marine life magazine or something.
yeah, no, that's a really good.
There are some creepy, mythical sounding D&D, World of Warcraft sounding creatures out there in the ocean, okay?
No, you're right. The deep sea theory.
Bigfoot is not that stretchy of a creature. He's just like an ape bear, man. I mean, these are all creatures that have existed, and some of them have evolutionary connections. It could just be that Sasquatch is some sort of missing link between apes and humans.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Like I said, I want the Bigfoot. I am all for the Bigfoot theory. That's just a little spoiler about what we'll get to later, but I'm here for it. Moving on, we can talk about modern day Bigfoot and how did that kind of craze come about. When it comes to Bigfoot in the modern times, we owe much of the fame to the Patterson-Gimlin film. It's a brief yet very impactful recording made by filmmakers Roger Patterson and Robert Bob Gimlin in 1967. Roger and Bob were intrigued by the Bigfoot theory long before this monumentous event. And after self-publishing a book on the abominable snowman, Roger himself embarked on a long kind of adventure to film a docudrama. It was a project that was set in Northern California. This venture would require him, Bob, and several other crew members to ride horseback into an area called Bluff Creek. There, they aimed to recount tales of an actual previous Bigfoot encounter from about 40 years earlier. They brought along an ape-like suit, anticipating its potential use for cinematic purposes. I bring that up because, while it doesn't really come up much later, that's a thing to keep in the back of your head when you hear this story. So we have people that are already Bigfoot enthusiasts, have self-published a book on the abominable snowman, and now are making a movie depicting a Bigfoot sighting and a Bigfoot event.
A reenactment of sorts from an encounter they had researched prior.
Yeah, from
correct?
40 years earlier.
Okay.
Yeah. All of that to say, these people liked Bigfoot and probably supported that Bigfoot theory full-heartedly.
Yeah, I definitely think these people believed in Bigfoot, wanted him to be real, and wanted other people to believe too.
Exactly. So that brings us to the fateful afternoon of Friday, October 20th, 1967. Roger and Bob were riding their horses upstream along the east bank of the Bluff Creek. They reported that between 1:15 and 1:40 p.m., they encountered an overturned tree with a massive root system and a bend in the creek. This stood almost as tall as a room, so probably about like 8 feet tall. This massive root system that just took over where they're probably trying to pass. As they rounded the bend, when they came around the root system with their horses, they spotted a large creature just kind of sitting behind this log jam that was left behind from previous flooding. They described the creature as either crouching beside the creek to their left or just standing there. There are conflicting reports between Bob and Roger. Nothing too crazy, but stuff like that, where it's like, okay, he was standing. No, he was crouching. So keep that in mind. The two, though, they were able to capture footage of this being for a brief moment. The film that they captured, it depicts what seems to be a large, hairy, and bipedal figure covered in short, silvery brown hair. According to Roger, capturing this footage was no small feat. After his horse became agitated at the sight of the creature, Roger dashed to retrieve his camera, which was secured to his saddle. And while Bob was covering him with his rifle, so just keeping an eye on the creature, making sure he can get to his camera okay, they managed to get the camera operational. It had a roll of film already in it. It was like, I think, half used, they said. So they began filming. As Roger began filming, the creature turned and walked away, ultimately just vanishing into the woods after about 30 seconds of footage. So it was just mostly meandering in the footage, going back and forth. At one point it disappeared but came back. And then after 30 seconds in total, it was gone. No more sightings. Once the creature was gone and the film roll had come to an end, the two filmmakers hopped back on their horses after retrieving Roger's horse, who had actually fled from the situation. During the whole filming process, his horse, the agitated one, got scared and ran. So they had to retrieve his horse. They got all their horses together, and they ended up tracking the beast for a few more miles. And they found paw prints. Paw prints. They found footprints.
Big paw.
They found footprints, and they followed it for a few miles. But after a little bit, they eventually just called quits and left for their campsite. They went back to their campsite, though, and went and got plaster. They took this plaster, went back to the footsteps, and they made two molds of what they found. They made a left foot and a right foot of the best kind of imprints that they could find. I'm pretty sure you could find those today. That, unfortunately, I probably should have looked into, but I didn't really find out where they ended up. I think they're in the museums and stuff like that. I know pictures of them do exist. You can find those for sure, but I'm not exactly sure where the molds themselves ended up or if they made it, because it was plaster, so there's a chance it's kind of deteriorated and just faded away. I mean, this was the 60s.
Yeah, Google Images will have you on the photos of it, though.
Yes, and you can Google the video, too. You can see the video for sure. We'll link it in any of our comments or descriptions, so look there if you want. Following all of this and the encounter, the film was circulated among scientists and researchers for analysis. Roger and Bob immediately sent it in and were like, please look at this. They just wanted all eyes on it. From all I could find, they pretty much abandoned their film. If that's not the case, let me know. I'd want to see it. I think that'd be pretty cool to see the actual movie that they were filming as well at the same time. But from what I could find, they abandoned that almost as soon as this happened. Sent the film in, had scientists and researchers look at it, but most credible experts concluded that this was a hoax. There wasn't any hard evidence, but a lot of people at the time, you could just say it was product of the time that they didn't believe in it. They were like, Bigfoot doesn't deserve our time to look into. So basically they got the tape and they were like, no, I don't even want to look into this.
I mean, it sounds about right. It's hard enough to get certain science areas to look into very realistic problems. Bigfoot, while it might be real, it's not really seen as a problem that needs addressed or an animal that needs to be found out more about or protected or anything like that. It's not a priority in those cases, unfortunately, but it makes sense.
Which I can understand too. I mean, this was the 60s, kind of, maybe not the height, but the Cold War was, the effects of that were still being felt. So maybe a lot of these scientists at the time were like, we got bigger things to look at than
Right.
Bigfoot.
Right. Not
A
to
filmmaker.
mention, I was going to say, they are filmmakers, so all these scientists are probably getting these little tapes and they're like, "Ugh, okay, come on, guys. Like, clearly you went into the woods to make a Bigfoot video.
I hate to say it.
I get it.
I hate to say it, and I don't, like I said, I believe in Bigfoot, but the fact that they took a Bigfoot suit with them, I think is just, it wasn't a Bigfoot suit. They said it was like an ape-like suit, and they did say they didn't intend to use it unless they wanted to do a cinematic shot or anything like that. Like if the situation arose, fine. If I was a scientist that you asked me to spend money and my time researching, and you told me off the bat, yeah, I brought an ape suit with me when I filmed this.
But that's not me, though.
Yeah, I'm putting the tape aside. First thing, I'm like, no, I'm sorry, I got better things to look into.
Yeah. I feel it. I get it.
I don't blame anybody. I honestly.
Right.
We don't know, and I don't blame Roger and Bob. They wanted it to get looked at. I don't blame the scientists because they probably had better things to do at the time. That brings us to today, where the Bluff Creek incident and this notorious film documenting it remain a hotly debated topic in Bigfoot lore. It is largely due to the fact that this film, well, there's a lot of debate on whether it actually happened or if it was a hoax. Most people who fall on the camp of Bigfoot's not real will dismiss it right off the bat. People who even do believe in Bigfoot will still debate this film and say, no, that's not real itself, but Bigfoot is real.
Yeah. And that makes sense too. I mean, think about other mystical legends and beings out there like the Loch Ness Monster. That has had plenty of people trying to prove its existence over the years, as well as plenty of people pulling hoaxes to try to fake prove its existence over the years.
Yep.
So, it's not out of the question.
So this film itself is, like I said, this is what kicked Bigfoot into the modern era and just the contemporary times. After this, a Bigfoot craze swept across the nation. Everybody was obsessed with trying to find this creature, and it just grew and grew, and media attention on it was huge. All over North America, people were trying to find this creature. Even today, you can still see remnants of this. And that brings us to our next part of this mystery, which I thought would be fun to look at. Modern day Bigfoot hunting and its impact on travel and the whole industry that's been built around just modern day Bigfoot hunting.
I mean, yeah, the fact that there are entire industries and layers of the travel industry centered around the idea of Bigfoot alone.
It's crazy.
Pretty big feat.
So modern day Bigfoot hunting, like I said, it's grown a pretty significant just culture and following in modern day times.
As it should.
I mean, really, it should. You see it all over TV, social media, everywhere people are talking about hunting Bigfoot.
Bigfoot is a fun energy.
He is. I mean,
all right.
I love that one hoodie you have. Like, what does it say? Something about Sasquatch?
Oh, it says, keep on squatching.
Keep on squatching. It's got Bigfoot. Stuff like that. You see it in t-shirts. It's not even taken necessarily seriously anymore. There are festivals all around the world that celebrate this, that you can go there and talk to people about actually hunting Bigfoot, and they don't care. They've never hunted Bigfoot. They didn't get into an RV and go into the... They're there to celebrate just the fact of the Bigfoot culture, and that is crazy and awesome.
That's just like wholesome, fun energy.
Exactly.
Humans, and I am here to celebrate that.
No, I love it. I love it so much.
Yeah.
So, modern day Bigfoot hunting, what is it? Like I said, it's undergone a pretty significant transformation from what we saw before, with just a few dudes going out horseback and a rifle, hoping to find something. That's not really what you have nowadays. What was once just a topic of folklore, like I said, it's evolved into a full-fledged adventure scene, attracting diverse arrays of individuals eager to just pursue this legendary creature and get their shot at some sort of fame. The proliferation of television programs and documentaries and social media has contributed to a lot of this burgeoning popularity of, well, the quest for Bigfoot. It makes me want to go out into the woods, set up a tent, and just watch for hours with a camera. That's content. I could cut that into a 10-minute TikTok, cut that into small clips, boom.
Searching for Bigfoot. goes viral.
You got it. Like, someone's gonna
I'm
watch
sure
that.
there's
Watch
plenty
that.
I'm sure there's plenty of accounts out there dedicated to Bigfoot content.
Yeah, 100%.
TikTok, Instagram, you name it. I mean,
I guess TikTok was a sensitive thing to bring up right now.
I forgot. We don't actually use TikTok, so
No, we don't. And we're recording this like February, so early February. If anything changes by the time this is out, good. If it doesn't, well,
yeah. Some people have it back.
yeah.
Regardless, Bigfoot has a big following, and there's literally people who are just dedicated to making content about Bigfoot, about finding Bigfoot, about going on the search and the hunt for Bigfoot.
I meant to bring up to you privately, but I was going to bring it up now since we're on the podcast. Do you want to quit our jobs and go Bigfoot hunting?
I would love that, but who's going to pay for my dog's bougie food?
The Bigfoot videos. I know we just bought this house and are very happy with what we do, but
I could see us living an RV life hunting Bigfoot.
when we retire, keep an eye out for that podcast, Bigfoot Diaries.
Oh my gosh. We'll be elderly, retired, in an RV with a little dog just camping out, waiting for Bigfoot.
So today, what we saw was nothing.
But the stars were so pretty.
300 days later.
That'll be me.
300 days later. So today we saw nothing.
That's not true. We saw 4 squirrels. We have fun.
So back to it. Today you can find guided tours, themed merchandise, and just a variety of Bigfoot-centric, well, everything. It's been severely commercialized. You have a hoodie, I have a t-shirt. If you go to Hocking Hills, Ohio, I'm sure if you go to many other towns like that throughout the Appalachia or even in the West, you're going to find Bigfoot memorabilia. We found it at Walmart. It wasn't even a weird, obscure shop. It was Hocking Hills themed Bigfoot stuff at Walmart.
Bigfoot is everywhere. Anywhere there's woods, you're going to find Bigfoot merch somewhere.
However, it is important to recognize that not all individuals support the commercialization of Bigfoot hunting. There are critics that contend that this trend kind of detracts from, well, the authentic scientific exploration of this. They say that all of this commercialization is hindering the true quest to find Bigfoot, which I can see that.
It's almost like when you're, he's this elusive creature, and when you have too many people coming out into his territory all the time, too many people making noise, he's less likely to ever come out of his hiding. If you only have a few select professionals looking for him, he's more likely to be seen.
Well, and look at the scientists with Roger and Bob, though. You have all these people that make a joke out of it, and then the scientists are like, well, I'm not going to spend my time investigating that. I'm going to get made fun of. If you have all these people going to a Bigfoot festival, the scientists might be like, well, they're not taking it seriously, so nobody's going to take me seriously or give me money to investigate this or to research this.
Yeah, I can see that too. That makes sense, right? Like, scientists are less likely to be able to or want to pursue the actual search and endeavor to find Bigfoot because of that commercialization and that the memization of Bigfoot.
All right, back to it. For a lot of devoted aficionados, the commercial aspect offers, well, enhanced opportunities to engage with this legend. Like you were saying, with these commercial opportunities, it brings more eyes on it, whether that does harm or good. People are looking at it. And you got to consider the Bigfoot festivals, where individuals convene to share their narratives, theories, and just insights on the beast, which that's pretty cool. I mean, I'm not going to knock that, even if they're necessarily not avid Bigfoot hunters or maybe taking it the most seriously. I love just the community aspect regardless.
Yeah, me too. And I mean, at the end of the day, in the beginning, when this Bigfoot appreciation and search kind of started before those guys made that film in the 60s, that's what they wanted. They wanted people to believe in Bigfoot. They wanted people to think he's out there, to go out and look for him too. They wanted the community to support the idea of Bigfoot.
Yeah, which ultimately it really has led to that. The Bigfoot festivals and events frequently feature a lot of presentations from experts and demonstrations of a lot of innovative equipment to help track or find Bigfoot himself. And they even include reenactments of a lot of these different scenes from Bluff Creek or even the scene they were trying to film from 40 years earlier, which that's pretty cool. I guess that's a form of theater.
Yeah, it's almost like it reminds me of like a Renaissance fair.
That's very much the vibe that I get from this.
Yeah, like a Renaissance fair, but Bigfoot themed instead of general Renaissance and medieval themed.
Yeah. Ultimately, despite this considerable commercial activity surrounding it, the allure of Bigfoot hunting still remains profoundly compelling. The enigma on whether this creature exists concealed within the depths of our wilderness, it continues to captivate and draw individuals back for further explanation. And that brings us to just modern day Bigfoot appreciation. In recent years, Bigfoot has transcended from folklore into a beloved cultural icon, inspiring a wave of appreciation across towns and different communities. This phenomenon has given rise to a variety of festivals and events that celebrate the legendary creature, drawing enthusiasts from near and far. These gatherings not only embrace the lore of Bigfoot, but also have just a significant impact on travel and, like I said, the vacation industry. That's what we're going to kind of talk about now.
Not even just the festivals, but think about like there's Airbnbs out there themed to Bigfoot.
Yeah.
There are tours out there in different parks and woods and mountains themed to Bigfoot.
Which I would stay at. If there was a Bigfoot Airbnb in Hocking Hills, which there might be, I haven't seen it yet, but if there is, let me know. I'm staying there.
Yeah. Oh, we'll book it.
I'll book that. That'll be so cool. Across the United States and beyond, communities have capitalized on the enduring fascination with Bigfoot by hosting festivals dedicated to this creature. These events often include a mix of live music, food vendors, merchandise stalls, and storytelling sessions that delve into local Bigfoot lore. Attendees can participate in activities such as guided hikes into reported Bigfoot territories, workshops on tracking methods, and discussions with cryptozoologists and researchers from around the globe. Cryptozoologist is a badass title.
I was just about to say, that is so cool. Low key, like, I know I'm nerdy, but a Bigfoot festival where you get to go take a workshop with a cryptozoologist to learn about Bigfoot tracking, sign me up.
Yeah, it's amazing. And one of the notable example of these annual Sasquatch festivals is the Sasquatch Days in Willow Creek, California, which happens every single year and is often referred to as the Bigfoot capital of the world. This is near the area where that Bluff Creek film was shot, so I can see why they got that. And this event celebrates the area's rich history of Bigfoot sightings and includes a parade, a Bigfoot calling contest, and guided tours to the Bluff Creek area where you can see where the actual film was shot. So that's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. I mean, even if you don't believe Bigfoot is real, it's so fun. It reminds me of like when I went to Hollywood with my family and we're just checking out like, oh yeah, and this celebrity owns this house and this celebrity lives there, and go to the wax museum and see all the figures and stuff like that. It has the same kind of vibe where it's like, okay, we're going to all have a Sasquatch calling contest. I'm not 100% sure, but what I'm assuming that is everyone gathers and it's like, all right, we're going to take turns making a Sasquatch noise to call the Sasquatch. And whoever has the best Sasquatch noise that we as a group have deemed will win. That just sounds fun.
Yeah, no, I love the idea.
It sounds ridiculous and fun.
So outside of festivals and everything like that, you also have towns just embracing the heritage of Bigfoot. And there are some that have restaurants, museums, and attractions themed after it. Another example of all of this is a town called Whitehall, New York, that has embraced its identity as a Bigfoot hotspot by erecting a sculpture in honor of this creature and hosting annual events that attract thousands of visitors every year. So if you want to see a sculpture of Bigfoot, go to Whitehall, New York.
That's amazing too.
Yeah, I love that.
We always joke that because we live in a small cottage house and it's just the two of us and our dogs, we're not that fancy or bougie of people. We should obviously get some sort of stone gargoyle or lion head to dictate the front of our driveway, right?
Oh, I love that.
But now I'm thinking we get a stone Sasquatch for the front of our driveway.
He'll overwatch us and the neighborhood.
Exactly.
After all that talk of Bigfoot in the past, modern day Bigfoot sightings, and celebrations just embracing Bigfoot himself, we're going to get into some of the fun stuff and just talk about some theories regarding Bigfoot and where he comes from and what it might be. The first one, which is what a lot of people go to, if you search what is Bigfoot, this will probably be the first one that comes up. And that's an undiscovered primate. This is the most realistic of the theories, and it's just that Bigfoot might be an undiscovered species of primate. Proponents of this theory suggest that Bigfoot could be a relic population of a prehistoric hominid such as Gigantopithecus, a massive ape that lived in Asia millions of years ago. They argue that remote and dense forests in North America could provide just enough cover and resources for a small population of these creatures to exist undetected. Supporters also point to the similarities between reported Bigfoot sightings and known primates, such as their bipedal gait and ape-like features. This theory is often bolstered by purported evidence like footprints, hair samples, and eyewitness accounts, although none have been conclusively proven to belong to a new species. Nothing has been concretely found.
Yeah, that's basically what I was saying my theory was before, is that if Bigfoot exists, he's some sort of primate-based species, the quote-unquote missing link between what we know as apes and humans today. And it sounds like that's what the scientists are essentially saying too. It's some form of ape, perhaps derived or evolved from one of these ancient larger breeds, and they're just so rare and almost extinct and so elusive, and the forests are huge, mountains are huge. They really could just be good at hiding and going undetected and nocturnal enough, etc., etc.
Like they said, it could be just a small pocket somewhere in North America where these creatures are hanging out, and there's just enough resources there to keep them sustained without forcing them to come into the limelight.
Right. And there are plenty of species in our world that haven't been discovered or fully named. Maybe one or two have been discovered, but it's not concrete enough to claim a new species.
Yeah.
You know, they're looking into it and they're trying to connect what species it might be.
No, like you said, the deep sea is a great example of this.
Yeah.
Another theory suggests that Bigfoot is not a physical creature, but a psychological and cultural phenomenon. This theory views Bigfoot as a product of folklore and mass hysteria, shaped by cultural stories, media influence, and the human propensity for pattern recognition. In this framework, Bigfoot sightings are attributed to just a combination of misidentifications of known animals or just hoaxes and just the power of suggestion, really. Supporters of this theory argue that the human brain is wired to perceive patterns and faces, sometimes leading to the projection of imaged beings in just ambiguous environments like forests specifically. This theory emphasizes the role of cultural storytelling in keeping the myth alive through generations, often evolving with societal changes, as we've seen Bigfoot do today. What was once a almost tall tale or a cautionary tale to warn others of certain lands has become a media icon.
Well, and this theory also sounds pretty legit, pretty sound. I mean, everything they're stating is fact. I mean, human brains are programmed to look for patterns, to look for faces, to trick us.
To put an answer to something that isn't there.
Exactly.
When you see a blank canvas, your mind wants to fill it.
Exactly. And the power of suggestion, like you said, once Bigfoot became this figure that was known, it wasn't just a very focused group of people sharing this legend or this tale. Once it kind of started to grow and more cultures had their own versions of it, and the term Bigfoot really became known. Once that happened, it's like when you're in the woods, even if you're fully in disbelief that Bigfoot ever exists, having heard these stories your whole childhood, seen it in the media, seen it in cartoons, whatever, you go out into the woods, you spend some time, it's kind of dark out there, trees all kind of blend the same, animals run fast, you might not recognize every animal out there, and your mind is bound to play a couple tricks on you. You're bound to see something wrong, or see something that's not there at all, or just misinterpret what you see.
No, exactly. I like that your mind sees a blank canvas and it wants to fill it.
Yeah.
Especially in the woods. I mean, you might not necessarily think you're afraid, but your subconscious our human brain is afraid of being out in the wild in any sort of the way because we just think there might be a danger there. We're hardwired to anticipate something happening in that situation.
It's instinct.
It is. It's human instinct, it's animal instinct, whatever you want to call it, but it is our instinct to want to fill that void with something so that we are prepared for it.
So that we feel safe.
Exactly.
It's all it is. Instinct is all just innate fear and wanting to protect. And I can see that. I mean, coming from a cautionary tale, everybody creates this sort of monstrous legend, and eventually it starts to seem real. You start to see it even because you're looking for it everywhere.
On the more outlandish end of the spectrum, some theorists propose that Bigfoot is, well, an interdimensional being. This hypothesis suggests that Bigfoot was able to travel between dimensions, which would explain its elusive nature and why it's so difficult to capture or find this creature. This theory often intersects with UFO sightings and other paranormal events, proposing that Bigfoot might be connected to extraterrestrial life or just otherworldly phenomena.
Bigfoot is an interdimensional alien?
He travels between dimensions, and that's why we haven't found any evidence of him here. But we've seen him.
Oh my gosh, I've never heard this theory. I cannot believe I've never heard this theory. This is awesome.
Since this is just season 1, and I don't want to blow the gasket just yet and make you guys think we're super crazy, I do want to talk about it at one point. There is a large theory out there that proposes all cryptids come from an interdimensional place, and that it's a parallel dimension basically layered on top of ours that they have the ability to travel in and out of. And that's why we can't find evidence of them, but we've seen them.
Oh,
And that's also why it goes way deep. I don't want to get too far into it, but that's also why like cameras and stuff can't perceive them, is because our cameras can't perceive something from outside. It's only our eyes. There's a whole thing that goes into it.
I mean, hey, I'm not saying that I believe all this stuff, but I have an open mind and I'm here for it. And I'm here to see how it could work. You know what I mean? Like, I see how that tracks.
I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, I want to believe in that.
Yeah.
I do. I truly want to believe.
I don't know that I do believe in it, but man, it sounds good.
It is. Those are the 3 main theories that are brought up when talking about Bigfoot. There are thousands. You can scour the internet and find so much information on Bigfoot and what other people think about him, but those were the ones that I thought were the most interesting or compelling. So if you want to do your own research, please do, and leave comments. Let us know what other people think. Let us know what you think. All right, so that brings us to the conclusion. We're going to talk about our personal theories. What do you think Bigfoot is if you believe in him? If you don't believe in him, don't answer this, and you can say, I don't believe in Bigfoot.
Well, this is a tough question because I don't know if I believe in Bigfoot or not. I want to believe in Bigfoot, but also I am a cynic who really likes to have that science and logic and proof backing stuff, so it's hard.
That's very fair. I completely understand.
I think if Bigfoot exists, he is most likely a combination of those first 2 well-known theories we talked about, where he is some sort of primate-esque creature that is maybe a rare species and very hard to find, but also that the fact of mass publicity and the power of suggestion and this mass hysteria or excitement, whatever you want to call it, about Bigfoot has more people claiming to have seen or seeing things that aren't what they think. So I guess that's my thought. If Bigfoot exists, he's some sort of primate creature, but the mass hype about him definitely it has made this appearance of what Bigfoot is and how many Sasquatch-like creatures and how many locations they are in around this world. I think that is all probably greatly exaggerated.
I agree with you mostly that it's just a mix of the first and second theory. That seems the most probable, to be honest. I think just honestly, out of the fun of it, I want to go with the interdimensional theory.
I do love that theory. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it's so fun.
Well, yeah, it's fun. And I like you said, I don't necessarily believe 100% in Bigfoot. But if I was going to believe in Bigfoot, then I would also probably want to believe in an interdimensional possibility like that.
Yeah. And I mean, hey, I'm no scientist, but I don't think things like that are out of the question.
No, and we will do a season at one point on like just scientific theories and scientific mysteries like that, which will be very interesting. So
I'm sure the multiverse theories will come up.
oh yes, multiverse, interdimensional, quantum theories, it'll get really fun. So please do stay tuned for that. Don't miss that.
It's not all gonna be wild man Sasquatch stories.
Now that we finished the story and we covered the mystery, gave you our thoughts, we're going to dive into a little bit of a free talk period. This is a segment that we call Date Night Debrief. We're going to just kind of any updates we have, any free talk we want to have, or we're also going to start it out every episode with a question. This question can range from would you rathers to relationship questions, anything of the sort. We're going to ask it to each other, give you our answers, and then you feel free to answer as well in the comments or let us know what you think about what we ask as well. So our first question for our first episode is, do you believe soulmates exist, or is it all about timing and effort? I'll let you start.
I don't think it's a matter of or. I think the answer is yes and. I think yes, soulmates exist, and to have the happily ever after, it is all about timing and effort. Each person probably has a soulmate, possibly even multiple, but it's up to the individuals and the partners, and it's up to them to make it work and to put love first and to grow and to stay together and to create that happiness for life, because life is not always easy and love is not always easy. Even if you're soulmates, you're still gonna have hard days, and if you don't handle them well, you might not feel like soulmates forever. So that's my answer.
I do like that. I'm a little bit different. I thought on this question a little bit because I wrote it, so I've had some time to dwell on this. I don't think soulmates exist. And the reason for that is, what's the limitation of a soulmate? Is my soulmate someone in India? Like, we have billions of people on this world, and I was thinking about it. There can't possibly be this connection between two random people unless it is localized, which that's a theory that you can have about it, is that no, soulmates are more drawn to who you experience life with, and that's what the soul, attaches to. But if it truly is just a numbers game, no, I don't think it's soulmates. I think you can meet whoever your person is, really wherever and whenever. It does truly take the time to get to know someone and to put in the effort and go on the dates and keep all that soulmate stuff out of the back of your head, because just like How I Met Your Mother, the more you talk about it and the more you build up the soulmate, you almost every opportunity you have before finding that supposedly perfect person. And if it truly is a numbers game, your perfect person could be in Russia. Like, you're searching in New York, but your soulmate is not anywhere near here.
Yeah, I could see how believing in soulmates could potentially cause a certain cynicism about love and people as well, where it's, if every single person they meet, if it's not immediately love at first sight, it's like, okay, not you, next. Like, you might start to lose an interest in people, or it might start to just feel hopeless, because it's like, if there's only one person out there for me, how in the world am I supposed to find that one person? But I'm a romantic sap, and I grew up on Disney and fairy tales and happy endings and romance novels and magical realism. And while I am quite a cynic in real life, despite all of that, my heart really, really roots for love. And like I said, I think it's possible that there could be multiple soulmates for each person, but I also think that the universe, fate, God, whatever you want to call this greater power or energy that exists, I think if soulmates exist, fate will make sure you meet.
Yeah.
It's just up to you to make it work from there.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and as soon as you finished speaking, I was like, okay, I really like that thought of it, where there's probably multiple soulmates, and it's a blend of the two. Much like the Bigfoot case, it's a blend of the first two, realistically, when you break it down.
Yeah. Well, and like you said, I mean, it does take time to get to know someone and really fall in love. You can have love at first sight, and you can have adoration, and you can be interested in someone or have a crush on them immediately, but you could also be wrong about first impressions. You could fall in love with someone at first sight, and then the more you get to know them, the more you realize you're not actually very good together.
Yep.
Or vice versa. You might meet someone and be like, ugh, I hate that guy. He's such a jerk, or like, she's such a bitch. Like, you might meet someone at first and think, ugh, I don't like them. But then forced proximity, maybe your classmates, maybe your coworkers, the more you spend time with them and talk to them, the more you might realize, like, pretty chill. Like, we have a lot more in common than I thought. Like, we could be friends. So, just like friendship, love can work that way too.
Going back to How I Met Your Mother, the mermaid theory.
Yeah, the mermaid theory. We watch a lot of sitcoms on repeat,
Yes.
and How I Met Your Mother is one
Is
of our
definitely one of them. Which
one of our fall asleep shows.
the mermaid theory, for those who haven't watched How I Met Your Mother and are nerds like us, is essentially that, where it's close proximity. The more you spend time with somebody who you might see as not attractive or not a candidate for you to date, over time, that proximity causes them to transform into a mermaid, much like the sailors back in the day would see manatees or other creatures and be like, that's a beautiful woman. Meanwhile, everybody else is like, I think you're a little bit crazy, my guy.
Yep, but it's because they were jonesing. We're jonesing out there on the sea.
So that's where the mermaid theory comes from. But no, I agree with you. It's definitely, I think, a good blend, a healthy blend of the two.
I think that we're soulmates.
Well, we are soulmates. So
And fate put us together, and we have made it work from there.
you're right. I did forget that you're my wife, and I have to side with you 100% of the time. So we are soulmates, and I do believe in soulmates.
That's right.
No, but you are right.
No. I don't actually whip him, okay?
No,
He's just
no.
really good to me.
We are very supportive of each other. Or at least I would like to believe that we are.
Yeah. Called love, timing, effort, soulmates.
It's the perfect equation. All right. Well, I think that's pretty much it for tonight then. I don't have any really free talk I need to really bring up. I haven't done too much recently, just been working. Haven't honestly watched too much television or anything either. Just been getting busy getting this podcast up, getting everything working for this. She's been getting busy booking weddings.
Yeah, I've had a kind of a busy start to the year. I've been booking some weddings, booking some boudoir shoots. I've started writing another novel. Well, I started
Congrats.
outlining and I wrote the first chapter.
Yes, we got to hold her to it. Everybody listening.
That's
we're
right.
gonna hold her responsible. So
I better have updates.
and every episode, we'll give a small update on that. So make sure.
Yeah, so I've been keeping busy, working my day job, picking up some Saturday shifts, making that bread.
There you go.
Yeah, you've been keeping busy writing our mysteries and
Yep. Working on everything for this, but it's been fun. We've been busy, but it's a good busy.
yeah.
I won't complain. It's a very good busy.
Oh yeah, we're going to a vision board party this afternoon.
Yes,
we're
that'll
going to
be
talk
fun.
about goal setting. We're going to make little posters and word of the year, all that stuff.
So yeah, that's gonna be fun to look forward to. I can't wait for that, honestly.
Yeah.
Nice time to relax. So thank you so much for joining us, and be sure to come back every other week for a brand new episode and a brand new mystery.
We hope you all enjoyed tonight's story, and don't forget you can email us episode ideas or love letters to our email, mysterydatepodcast@gmail.com. If you are sending an episode idea, please be sure to leave episode idea in the subject line so we can find it easily.
And also be sure to share this podcast with your friends or even your enemies. We're not gonna judge. If you like the show, be sure to rate it and leave a comment telling us, and also let us know your answer to our question. We'd love to hear the feedback on that.
Be sure to follow us on social media at Mystery Date Podcast for updates on the show and our life, and tune in next episode.
That's all, so be safe and have a great day or night.
And remember, every good mystery deserves a date. Bye. Crushed it.
Crushed it.